All right, let's take a trip. Not in space, but deep into the past. I want you to picture a place so vast, so empty, it feels like you're on another planet. Now, what if I told you that hidden beneath the endless sands of the Sahara Desert lies an incredible secret, a lost world? Actually, scratch that, two of them. Today, we're going to journey thousands of years back in time to uncover a story that was written in bone.
Our story kicks off in the Tenere. It's a part of the southern Sahara so utterly desolate that the local Tuareg people have a name for it, a desert within a desert. I mean, just try to imagine an ocean of sand and rock about the size of California. You've got dunes stretching for 100 miles, temperatures that can soar to 120 degrees, and a wind so relentless it can literally dehydrate you in less than a day. It is, without a doubt, one of the most hostile places on the entire planet.
And it's right here, in this brutal, unforgiving landscape, that our story takes a wild turn. Back in the year 2000, a team of scientists who were actually looking for something else entirely was about to stumble onto a discovery that would completely rewrite the history of this ancient land.
So, the date is October 13th, 2000. Paleontologist Paul Sereno and his team are out there hunting for dinosaur fossils. As they're working, their photographer, a guy named Mike Hetwer, he gets kind of captivated by the stark, silent beauty of it all and just wanders off to get some shots of the landscape.
And as Hetwer comes over the crest of a dune, he sees something that just stops him in his tracks. The sand is littered with bones. I mean, they're everywhere. Now remember, these guys are fossil hunters, but what he was looking at, this didn't look like any dinosaur. This felt different, newer, and honestly, a lot more shocking.
He races back to the rest of the team, and the words he says send this jolt through the entire expedition. They are human bones. They hadn't found a dinosaur graveyard, no. They had found an enormous human cemetery, a whole city of the dead, smack in the middle of one of the most inhospitable places on Earth. And the questions just hit them immediately. Who were these people, and what in the world were they doing out here?
So, to solve this incredible mystery, Sereno knew he needed a different kind of expert. He's a dinosaur guy, right? He reaches out to Elena Garcia, a famous archaeologist who'd spent 30 years studying the ancient peoples of the Sahara. She was the perfect person for this. Together, they went back to the site and they gave it a name, Gobero.
Their work was just painstaking. I mean, they mapped every single feature. They carefully excavated burial after burial, and then they sent teeth from the skeletons off to a lab for radiocarbon dating. They were literally peeling back the layers of time, one grain of sand at a time. And when the results came back from the lab, they were staggering. They hadn't just found one lost civilization, they had found two.
Yeah, you heard that right. The dating showed that two totally separate groups had lived and died on this exact spot, but they were separated by a 1,000-year gap. The older group, they called the Kifian, lived there 9,000 years ago, and the younger group, the Tenerian, showed up way later, around 6,000 years ago. Two completely different chapters of human history, buried in the exact same place.
Now here's where it gets really fascinating. It's not just that they were from different times. These two cultures were incredibly different from each other. Just imagine finding, I don't know, the ruins of ancient Rome and then, built right on top, medieval London, but with 1,000 years of complete silence in between.
To understand the first group, the Kifian, you have to completely erase the image of the desert from your mind. 9,000 years ago, Gobero was green. Yep, it was sitting on the edge of a huge, beautiful lake that was just teeming with life. This was the time of the Green Sahara, a paradise that's almost impossible to even imagine today.
And the Kifian, well, they were the masters of this lush world. They were expert fishermen, pulling in these colossal Nile perch that could weigh up to 300 pounds. Can you even picture that? They were sharing this watery world with alligators and hippos. So this wasn't some struggling desert culture. This was a vibrant, thriving lakeside civilization.
And the bones themselves told this story so clearly. A bioarchaeologist named Chris Stojanovski analyzed the remains, and the differences were just night and day. The Kifian people were tall, some were over 6 feet, and incredibly muscular. The Tenerian, who came thousands of years later, were shorter, more slender, and much more lightly built. Two totally different groups of people.
And this is just so cool. It shows how a skeleton basically records a person's life story. Stojanovski could look at a Kifian thigh bone and see the proof of massive leg muscles. It was a clear sign of a strenuous, physically demanding life, probably fueled by all that fish protein. By contrast, the Tenerian bones? They spoke of a much less laborious way of life. They definitely weren't wrestling giant fish. They were probably doing something else entirely.
So, we've got this incredible picture of two lost worlds, all thanks to science. But, and there's always a but, isn't there? In answering all those big questions, they unearthed one final, really perplexing puzzle. And it's a puzzle that, to this day, remains unsolved. The best theory for the Tenarian was that they were herders. It makes sense, right? By their time, 6,000 years ago, the climate was getting drier, so herding would be a better bet than fishing. And the team did excavate thousands of animal bones at the site, so they fully expected to find the remains of cattle, sheep, goats, the whole 9 yards. But what they actually found was really strange. Get this. Out of all those thousands of bones, the team found the remains of only 3 cows. Just 3. And, even more bizarre, they found not a single sheep or goat bone. 0. For a culture of herders living right next to their cemetery, this was a massive, massive red flag.
Now, Elena Garcia, the archaeologist, she had one possible explanation. She noted that a lot of herding cultures, even today, are really reluctant to slaughter their animals. They see them as a sign of wealth and life, you know? And you'd be especially careful about that near a sacred place like a cemetery. But does that really explain the complete absence of sheep and goats? And so that leaves us with this one last haunting question that just hangs in the air. If the Tenarian people were herders, where are all their animals? It's a mystery that just reminds us that for every discovery we make in a place like the Sahara, a dozen new questions pop up. The sands of Gobero gave us 2 incredible lost worlds, but it sure seems like they're still holding on to some of their deepest secrets.